Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to explore how to create a route. So what we've done is we've already navigated to the routing section inside our blueprint module. And what we're going to do is select one of these assemblies that has the no route status. I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. And now we can have a look at what we're greeted with here, which is the process flow tab and the process details. Let's start by making a process flow. Now, the process flow is kind of like creating an engineering flow diagram. What you're doing is painting the picture of where this assembly or product is going during its manufacturing or assembly stages. So what you do is you can add processes and you can add warehouses. Let's go ahead and create a process. I'm going to create the one called assembly. This will be the general assembly stage. And let's say we're going to put it under cutting and assembly. So at the workstation of the cutting and assembly, we have a process called assembly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the start. So what this is really doing is saying that, the first process is going to create a job card is going to be this assembly job card, and it's going to happen at the cutting and assembly workstation. The system already knows which employees work at that workstation. It already knows the capacity. So it's already doing smart calculations in the background to ensure that this is all feasible. Let's also add a quality control step. And we can add this at the quality control workstation, which we've already set up. And I'm going to bring this down here. Now, the really nice thing about this visual builder is you could set it out according to how your warehouse or your manufacturing facility is set up. And it allows you to move these around as you see fit. So if you're a visual person, it's really easy to go ahead and create these. Now, at the end of any process, you need to send the outgoing good or assembly into a warehouse. So what we do is we'll select one of the locations from our warehouse. The system will go and do a check, see what is available. I can see I've got a warehouse, it's in Sacramento. And because we're doing an assembly, it already knows that it can only go into the sub-assembly section. If this was a finished good, for example, a product, the finished goods options would come up here. Now I would see my finished goods locations. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. I bring it here. I can see it's been demarcated with this warehouse icon. And I can go ahead and select it. We just create a really simple route that goes from assembly to quality control into a warehouse. So let's say there's a scenario where we want to go back and edit our route now. And we want to insert a secondary test step after quality control. What you can do is you can delete the link. I'm just going to move this up here. I'm going to create my secondary test, which is going to be called test. I'm going to do this at the quality control workstation as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and create it. Now we can simply just link in our test step, reconnect to our warehouse. And there we go, our process is all sorted. So it's really easy to go and add new parts of different routes, or if there's suddenly a test or QC step you need to add, it's really easy to go back and make those edits. Now let's go into the process details section. The process details structure is completely based off your process flow. So here you can see that I've got assembly, quality control, and test. These are directly from my process flow we created before. So you can see here I've got assembly, quality control, and test. So as you make edits here, they will then be available in the process details. So if I open these up, I'll be greeted by two sections inside each process, being the input and the processing. The inputs are where you add items from your bills of materials. So these are things like items or assemblies. Tools and instructions or templates can also be added. So if there's an associated tool that needs to be on the job card, or a template or an instruction manual, you can add them here simply using these tools, and they will then appear on the job card at the workstation. So it's a really easy way for someone who's new to the job to know exactly what tools they must fetch, how they should do something, all of that kind of information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of items to the first section, being our assembly step. So I've added the lid inlay, I'm going to add the lid arch, and I'm going to add the lid cap. See, I haven't added all of them because there's sometimes situations where you might actually add an individual line item or an individual assembly later on in the route. So I'm just going to use this as an example, and I'm going to go into quality control and just pretend that we are actually going to add the gasket at the quality control step. And here you can see you're almost building like a Lego instruction manual. You are saying at which points the different items or assemblies go into this routing, and then the system will go and create the job cards off that. If I refresh this, the system will do a check to ensure that all the eligibility steps have been met. And this will ensure that all the bills of materials have been allocated across the route. Coming back into the assembly, there are a couple of other interesting things we can look at. For example, you can change the workstation associated with this part of the process simply by coming here and selecting a new workstation. So if you'd created a very long route and you decide that the first step you want to go back and change which workstation is being used, you can do so here really easily. You can also hover over the employee section and see which employees are associated with the workstation that can fulfill this process. I can add state or descriptions here. So for example, if I want to add information about this particular task or the state at which it's happening in, I can add that information here just as a text field. We've also got a little information icon here regarding time. And there are two settings. There's the manual input and system suggested. Manual input means that we allocate the time that we believe should take to do this task at that workstation. The system suggested time will instead track each time this job card is done and update the average amount of time it takes to do said job card. So what you can imagine here is over time you'll get a more and more accurate estimation of how long each of these stages should take. So this is really great for then using into our costing engine, and later on we'll look further into that. If you look here, you'll also get an estimation about how much this operation costs. So if we know the cost of the labor associated with it, and we know the cost of the workstation being used, we will start to see generated costs that are associated with these processes. So even though we may have created the route a while ago and it's run through many manufacturing processes, we can then come back and look and see, what is the associated cost with those processes. And if we go ahead and look just below the actual assembly title, you can see a little bit of a costing breakdown with an eye icon. And as we know in the system, an eye icon means that we get information modal. So we can go ahead and click it, and it will tell us more about route costing, total costing, and give us a bit of a breakdown of how everything works. So this is really great if you ever get a little bit confused. Don't be afraid to look for an eye icon, click it, and you'll get some information directly on your screen. So we've shown you a little bit about how our routing works. Please feel free to watch more of our videos on the setup of your products and assemblies to learn more. Thank you very much.